Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Mind interview series, where we bring in amazing people just like you who are just doing their best to be their best every day, given limited time, limited humanness, given everything pulling at our attention these days. I feel so lucky to have us here with Andrew McConnell, who is an incredible entrepreneur, author, and father, who kind of does a human feat worth of things in this space. So I could not be more excited to talk to him because he's pretty much an expert, both personally and also professionally, when it comes to mental fitness.
I appreciate that intro, but I do want to say I don't know about expert. I think an expert student or a continual student. I'm definitely not Buddha, right?
Okay.
There are plenty of things that I'm still struggling with all the time.
I love it. Well, I think Buddha would say that he also is struggling with things as well. I think what's super cool about this space, I don't know if you feel like this, although it sounds like you do, is that the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
I think that's true in life in general, right? I really try to divide my life in two eras. Of there was a time that I didn't know anything, and then there was a time that I realized I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And that second was so much more empowering. So then it is just continual learning journey that's super exciting. And what I know now, I heard Esther Perel use this the other day. It's like the truths of today are the jokes of tomorrow. And so even the things we think we know, we have to keep an open mind because we're learning so much as a society in science and in all of this. So,
well, I love it. Appreciate, level setting here. It's actually a great opportunity to tell us a little bit more about your story, who you are and what brought you here today.
Yeah, the story. So I guess kind of winding, I identified as a swimmer for a good chunk of my life. And that was a big part of who I was. And ended up getting an injury while I was in college. And so my identity wasn't just somebody that got in the pool, like it was this swimmer at a certain level. And so that was this whole identity crisis. And then fortunately I was in school so I could get a new identity. Oh, I'm a student. Look, I'm going to be this really good student. So did that, went to law school in the US and the UK. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a student anymore. I need a new identity. So went into management consulting. So got the dark slacks and the blue shirts and the Toomey bag. I'm like, I have my uniform, right? This is my new identity. I'm a consultant. And so I kind of went through these different things, and it took me till late 30s, maybe my daughter being born, of seeing myself not as any one label. It's just, hey, I'm me that does these different things. And these things can change with time, but they are not who I am. They're just things that I happen to do at different points in time.
Yeah.
Which, again, pretty liberating and is kind of part of this mindset journey because I had always thought of myself as this healthy person, right? As a swimmer, I trained so hard and think about health. And I remember people saying, fitness is great, but nutrition is way more important. I was like, no. Like, I can outrun nutrition because I'm just going to train so hard. Then COVID hit. And I started looking around how I'm living, how other people are living. And my old business was rented.com that I sold. And we would always tell people, we maximize the value of your most valuable asset, right? Because we're helping you, we're not helping. And then I was just watching these people on Twitter all day, on the news cycle, getting up and down all the time. What's the president tweeting? What are the stats saying on COVID? Fighting. So actually, your home is definitely not your most valuable asset. Your most valuable asset, you don't need a lifetime of earning to get a down payment. You're born with it. It's your birthright, and it is your mind. Your mindset is your most valuable asset. And yet, despite this, despite our finite attention, finite time, we end up just giving it away and renting those pieces back. So instead of acting like owners of our mind, which we are, we have someone cut us off in traffic and we let them own our mood for the next 2 hours. We're in a bad mood because this person who does not know we exist, like they did not cut us off and they probably didn't see the car. They literally don't know we exist, but we are letting them live rent free in our head. Like, wow, this is strange. What is going on here that we're all doing this? And so that sent me on this journey into Taoism, Buddhism, Stoicism, to really try to understand the ancient underpinnings, but then also the modern science. Like, how did we end up this way, and then what do we do about it? And so my mental fitness journey probably more deliberately started then, because what I realized is, like with our physical fitness, we know we need to go work out. And not for a week, and we're good for life. Not for a year, and we're good for life. It's an ongoing thing. We need to move our body, strengthen our body. With our nutrition, We know we need to eat healthy each day. We have to fuel our body each day. And yet a lot of times for mindset, we're like, oh, like I'll read this one book and I should be fixed. Or I'll go to this one Tony Robbins event and like I'm set for life. And it doesn't work like this. Our mind is just like all these other components, that it requires ongoing work and practice. And so once I kind of realized that and changed the bar, then it's saying, okay, what are the practices to do? And maybe there's some that are consistent day to day, and then there's some that say, these are tools in my toolkit that when certain things come up, I can go back and pull those off the shelf and use them.
Absolutely. I love everything you said. I feel like that's like, if people hear like one snippet, that's the bit, which is, I love the example you gave about getting cut off by somebody in their car, and all of a sudden that person owns your mindset for the rest of the day. Like you're just angry and upset. Yeah, it's rent free. But I'm curious for you, like, so there's a lot of things that happened here. I want to hear about your transition, the moment, the days, the weeks where you were a lawyer, and like full on, probably working insane hours. You said, you studied between the US and I think UK. And then when you started really paying attention and studying this mindset stuff, and was that part-time, full-time? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I was never a real attorney, right? I did summer internships. So I went to law school because I wanted to do civil rights. So then I studied race relations, everything in college. That's what I did my thesis on, civil rights. And my first year of law school, I got everything I could possibly want. Everything came together that if you said, I'm going to draw my dream scenario, this would have been better than that. And I hated it. I was absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
It made me realize the purpose is important to me, but the process, right? Life is actually lived not just by the end destination, but what we're doing each day. What we do each day is what we do with our life. And I realized I did not like the day-to-day of what it took to get lawyer. So that's how I ended up going to the UK. I was like, maybe I'll go into academia. I'll start working for a couple of professors. I'll go get this LLM from a different country, studying international human rights and civil rights, and I'll go do that. And then I realized, it's not as much about the teaching and this engagement, which I love the classroom setting. It's actually a lot more about the research and the publishing. And it just seemed too closed off. So from there went to McKinsey. And we talk about working long hours, right? Like there'd be times you're working till midnight too, and I'd still make sure, because physical health, this was before my nutrition days, it was like or sleep days. I'd still get out at 5 every day to make sure I'm working out every single day, almost a day. And so when people ask now, like, what did you think about McKinsey? For me, it was a huge missed opportunity. I got to do some amazing work. I got to work in Afghanistan on economic development for a year. I got to work for a big school system and teacher effectiveness and do really meaningful work, but I didn't have the right mindset, right? I went in thinking all this stuff is happening to me versus I have this agency. I have this opportunity right now to really go learn, to really pursue what I want. So when people ask about it, I'm like, look, here was my experience, but I don't think that says as much about the firm than maybe my immature mindset while I was there. So I stayed for 4 years, but again, without the agency of like, well, what else could I possibly do? And I realized like, you can go do anything, right? Like, the entire world is your oyster. And then I left there and started my own business. And
what was the moment you decided to leave? Like, that's a hard thing to do. Like, I feel like you did the like too big kind of like parent approved, like you lawyer, then you go to McKinsey, great health insurance, great benefits, great pay. And then you decide to leave. So like, why and how?
Yeah. I mean, a partner I worked with that I really liked and respected, he had left to go to this new startup. It was in the legal space and tech space. And he was like, we need somebody who understands legal and understands tech and understands consulting for big clients. And that sounds like you. Can you go run this arm of the business? And so I was able to grow it in the first 12 months I was there to $27 million. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I am good for this. This is good. And so that helped me leave. And then while I was working for that other company and built the confidence, like, wow, this building thing is really, really fun versus consulting. Then I had the idea for my first business, left and started it. And so I was building these companies, and it was back August of 19. And then I had a conversation with a friend who was asking me how things were going, and I was kind of whining, right? And he said, look, you have to remember, because he's a CEO too, he's like, it's your company. if you don't like what you're doing, just change what you're doing. And it was so obvious, like, wait, I get to decide the work I do each day. And so it completely changed. I was like, what are the things? So I went back and created, being a consultant, my 2x2. What are the things I love doing? What are the things I hate? What are the things I'm great at? What are the things I'm terrible at? How do I get as much of my day in this top rate box as possible? How do I hire people or strip off work entirely or automate it or hire people to fill these other pieces? And started doing that, started writing a lot more, started being able to mentor and coach people a lot more, started to be able to hire people that were way better than me in these things I didn't want to do in the first place. And I was like, man, this is amazing when you can start taking this control over. And so it got me curious on how many other areas might I be holding myself back or other people from just the mindset we take into it. Back to the time at McKinsey, like with a different mindset, I would have gotten a totally different thing out of it than this, oh, woe is me, I'm having to go travel here, I'm having to do this. Like, oh, no, I get to do this, right? Like, create that story. Why is this a good thing? And some people may get that. Hopefully, my daughter gets it at like 8 or 9. Some of us, it took 240s to get there. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, no, amazing story and like so relatable. There were so many moments I was like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. I'm curious, like, why do you think it takes most of us until like our 30s and 40s to like hear that message of, you have a choice?
Like it is really weird to me in this day and age what we choose to teach in school versus what is useful for a good life. And not to be too much on education reform, but in a world of even pre-AI, right, pre-ChatGPT or Claude, where you can Google anything, you can get all this, like, how much of these things that we're having to memorize? Like 1588, okay, cool, that's when the Spanish Armada came in. Oh, 1688, okay, that's when this happened. Who cares? Like, I don't know, maybe there's some use to forcing kids to sit at a desk and regurgitate those things, or maybe we could be spending more time teaching self-awareness, teaching things that are to learn about our body and our mind much younger, because it almost now takes us until we hit a point, an inflection point. Like most of the stories on this are, oh, I hit this inflection point of basically crisis. And so I had to go self-heal and go on this journey. And I think there are plenty of people that also end up in that point of crisis without the capacity or the resources to get on that healing journey. And so if it's basically universal, which I think it is, and if it's not, I think for most people that it's not, it's just like they're too busy to even think about it and realize that they're living the unexamined life and like, why are you here in the first place? I don't know why we wouldn't just move that up, right? Like even with my book, get out of my head, like people say, who's it for? Well, like it's resonating with people that are kind of hitting the retirement age of, wow, whoa, here's where I am in my career. This is not the life I want. Like, great. Best time to realize that was 40 years ago. The second best time is today. Like, what are we going to do from here? Or somebody just starting their career so they don't slip into that. But I think the most impactful time is like middle school. You see young kids play, they don't have a problem with presence, with being in the now, right? Like, they don't need Eckhart Tolle to go teach them that. They live it. And at some point, and it seems like that middle school age, it's part brain development, it's part having to care about how we fit in social interactions, it gets a lot more difficult. And we start layering on all these things that become less true to who we are and what we want to be, and more what we think other people want, and trying to navigate that. And so if we could insert it earlier, I think people would live a lot better because they'd be conscious of it and aware of it, because we're all going through it.
Totally. And I think what's really, really cool, and I want to talk about your book in a second, is that the message is basically like you can start as early as childhood. And the real gap is that kids are practicing the things that we're writing about, reading about, having ahas about. But to your point, like there is this transition point. I agree with you. I do think middle school is when, at least for me, like I started noticing myself feeling stressed, feeling more aware, of not my thoughts, but like others probably thoughts of me.
Yeah, and I think part of it is societal, but I think part of it is literally brain development. So if you go and look at it, our brains start what lights up and in what scenarios and from our peers versus authority figures and stuff. That changes at that age. So there are biological reasons that starts to happen. And I think if we could have more informed and open conversations about that, not just from authority lecturing down, but to normalize the conversation for peers to have it with each other, then I think it would better prepare people for their entire.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm curious, like, so talk about this book. So like most people read stuff and then they're like, wow, that was really interesting. And then that's it. And they put it down and they move on to their next topic. Like, what was it about what you were reading that made you move into becoming an author, which is very cool?
Yeah. So Quentin Tarantino has this line, I'm going to probably butcher it, but it's not learning until you put it into practice.
Yeah.
You haven't actually learned anything until you've gone and done the thing. And that really resonated with me, that I could go regurgitate all these ideas, right? There are no new ideas coming out. It was Alfred North Whitehead said, every person is the proponent of some other one's philosophy, right? Like, we're just saying the same stuff people said 2,500 years ago, and 2,000 years ago, and 1,500 years ago. It's just getting repackaged in ways that are going to resonate to get your own out. But rather than just seeing the words, back to just reading about exercise is not doing exercise. Just reading about nutrition is not fueling your body with healthy food. You have to go do the thing. And so when I was doing the book, it was important to me to have the work of like, hey, here's this issue we face in terms of renting to other people, in terms of renting to events or circumstances outside of control, in terms of renting to imagined versions of ourselves that may or may not have ever existed. And here's why we do this. Here's the principles for how we address it. And then here's a specific exercise or tool that you can then take to go, when you're facing this, use to address it. And so each chapter has one of those worksheets, one of those tools, and then it's a separate downloadable PDF entirely for free. It's like, hey, even if you don't want to read the book, these tools, here's the insights from it, go use the tools. And then I just created a custom GPT for it that anybody can go get, Empire of the Mind, that you can do the same thing, just digitally, again, all for free. Like, this was not a moneymaker for me. It was, hey, this has been super helpful. Hopefully it can help other people. And it seems to be. So that's kind of the mission.
That's so cool. And congratulations. I'm curious, like, what's been the best part about having written something like that? Or
100%. The messages from strangers that are just like, oh my God, I don't know how you knew what I was going through. This came into my life at the perfect moment. Maybe my favorite, this isn't good for giving corporate talks, but maybe my favorite was Ford on a message. The guy said, look, I read this book over the weekend, and on Monday I went in and quit my job. I'm like, wow. Okay, so like it isn't just people are having aha moments. They literally are changing. And I've had people at events come up to like, oh yeah, I actually quit what I was doing because of reading your book. Like you gave me, I'm like, look, I did, right? Like a book's not going to change your life. Only you can change your life, but it can help you get to a level of awareness where you decide you want to.
Amazing. Oh, bravo. Love it. Okay. On that point, so you've written this book, and then what? What are you doing?
Oh yeah, so same year I wrote the book and published the book, I sold my company to a private equity firm. So I kind of did that for a year, worked for them, helped with transition, and then left. And with my co-founder, I'm now building a business, Lively.com. And the idea to help people live their best life their entire life. So it's not just about people wanting to tack years to the end, because a lot of people don't want that. In fact, we're seeing baby boomers, even though they're living longer, they're unhealthy sooner than prior generations, right? All the chronic diseases, everything they're dealing with. And so it's not just about, hey, I want to sit around unhealthy for the last 20 years of my life. It's saying, how do I start living exactly how I want to live today and carry that all the way through and just have this vibrant, healthy life filled with vitality? And so that's what we do with the Lively. It's an e-com marketplace where we integrate with wearables to say, hey, instead of just buying a t-shirt or a hat, we say, hey, great. When you're doing something in the realm of health, it's for a reason. And when you buy it, do you want to integrate to see, is this having the impact you want? So we can see over time, hey, you bought this saying, I want to get better sleep. We've tracked for 60 days. Your sleep's no different than it was for the 6 months prior. But we see 70% of people who buy this other thing that, by the way, is 70% cheaper each month than what you're using right now. They're getting an extra 20 minutes of deeper sleep. Do you want to cancel this and go to that? Because we just want people to want them to live their best life, right? And so it's not about what the objective thing is or the current fad. It's about what's the right next step for them at the right time, given their objectives and goals. And so that's what we're building.
That's truly spectacular as a wearable wearer. I love that. I think what's so crazy and hard about this whole space is that, Peter Attia talks about medicine 3.0, right? So we are our own advocate, and that doctors, wellness products, like all these like amazing pieces of wisdom we pull cross-functionally from different disciplines are meant to be processed by us, and we need to start making some of these decisions for ourselves. And so I love that you're helping consumers like us make those decisions.
The doctor is an interesting point because it's, hey, for this 15-minute visit or 30-minute visit every 12 months, how much insight do they have on us? How much can we get back and forth? When really it's every single day, we're throwing off tons of data from whether it's our phone, our smartwatch, our Whoop, our ordering, whatever it is, there's so much data being captured, and we're doing different interventions as we go. It's too much. And so people kind of check out. And our approach is much more, what is it that you care about? Right? Not all the things that you can look at, but what is it you care about? What is top of mind for you? And let's work on that. You're like, hey, I'm coming to buy this molecule for sleep. Like, cool. Now, just so you know, from what we're seeing on the data, you sleep 20% better on days you get 12,000 steps than if you get less than 10,000. But right now, you're averaging 9,500 steps. So before you start giving us money and putting more molecules in the body, could we start with this behavioral change? And maybe not. Like maybe the person said, no, I'd actually just rather take the thing because I don't have the time. Like I've chosen I'm not going to have the time to go do that. And that's totally fine. But meeting the people where they are of is the right step for you to go take that extra 2,500 steps, or is the right thing to start taking the supplement so you fall asleep more quickly, right? Like it's just, there's not an objective truth. There's a subjective, most effective truth for you at any given point in time. And that's what we're trying to partner with each person on.
That's so cool. And honestly, it really resonates. Like I've been on a 5-year health journey. And the thing that's struck me is I've probably had about 15 different doctors throughout my time. I've worked with everyone from nutritionists to integrative healthcare practitioners. And at the end of the day, like what's been so wild for me is it's been the wearables, it's been the glucose monitor, it's been a combination of supplements and major diet overhaul, just in terms of how I can eat now and the way I work out and everything. And now 5 years later, I'm finally feeling my best. And it wasn't one thing, right? Which is like scary. Like I wish I could tell everyone like, oh, it was like, this one supplement I took, it turns out it was, there was a hole in my sleep patterns, but yeah. And
that's one thing, right? Like it's back to the Chinese, but every 10,000 mile journey starts with that first step. So there's so many people we talk to like, oh God, I look at it and then I just get overwhelmed. Like I get it. But let's not worry about that. Let's worry about what's the thing to get started today that you're excited about and you'll actually do. And let's just start there. And you're seeing that, honestly, a lot with these GLP-1s. For a lot of people, that can be the first step because they feel better. They're like, you know what? Actually, I feel better moving. I want to go try yoga now. Right? The first step was just doing that. And then they go to yoga. Oh, well, you know what? After I do yoga, I don't really want a cheeseburger and fries. Like, it feels way better to me to have this salad. Like, great. Right? And it just builds from there. But it has to start from whatever the right first step for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's been so cool to your point is like, it has been step by step and it's kind of had to be that way. And if I wanted to feel better with any one action I took, like it just wouldn't really work. And for better or worse, like that's the place that we're in, which is every one step gets you closer to the way you want to feel. And that's spectacular. And it's so cool that you're doing that kind of work at Alively. I wonder if we could have shaved a couple of years off of my journey with the work that you're doing. So
yeah, I mean, that is definitely the goal because your story is same as mine as others. Like you go really deep on one until something happens and is wrong. So it's like, oh, right, nutrition doesn't matter. Wait, I'm pre-diabetic. I look like this and I'm pre-diabetic. I really do need to think about how much sugar I put. Let me get the CGM and start tracking. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, sleep could make me 15% more likely to get dementia. maybe I should prioritize that and think about how I do things. And so it's these step by steps versus how do we accelerate that so it's not just serendipity that you get the right thing at the right time and saying, hey, no, we're capturing all this on. We understand what you want. Let's just do it. Maybe it's every 2 weeks instead of 2 years now. The right little incremental nudge.
Totally. And this actually, it's so interesting. There was this quote I heard from a UX expert. I think it was Jeff Galthife, who basically said, process indicates product. And the example he gave was like, you see a machine making a frozen pizza, and it's like not so glamorous to watch that pizza get made, cooked, and put in the microwave and eaten. But then you go to Italy and you watch this pizza get made by hand, and that process is made with love, right? Like every bit of that pie is like really being chosen, selected, placed, and baked with love. And I think when it comes to our health, when it comes to our work, when it comes to our lives these days, we are all looking for we want the frozen pizza outcome. We want the amazing pizza quickly, without necessarily the process that goes into it. And I think you said this earlier really well, which is it is all about the process. Once you realize it's about those inputs every day, my phrase for myself is gentle. It's how do I show up in a softer, not fix it, do it,
Yeah.
make it happen kind of way, and a lot more of how do I need to show up to feel my best every day to move closer to where I'm hoping to go.
And this is a conversation I have almost every week with my daughter. So on the weekends, I bring her to the gym with me. She does circuits, she deadlifts, all this stuff. If you can just learn to love this process, I'm not saying you do today, but if you can learn to enjoy this, then whatever sport you choose, whatever you choose, you're going to be better. If you can just learn to love this process of putting in the work to get strong, putting in the work to get better, if you can fall in love with the process, it's going to carry over to everything you ever do. And so I'm not going to say it was a light bulb moment for my 8-year-old, but we'll continue to work on it. It's a message basically every week.
I love it. And I'm curious, and maybe ways to fall in love with the process is something we could talk about now, but we always try to grab 1 to 2, even 3 things tactically that you do on a regular basis to work on your mental fitness.
Yeah.
So, I always smile because most of us who practice mental fitness are in fact in the gym. That's been one of the most interesting things I've learned building the company. But I'm curious for you, what are 1 to 3 things that you do to keep your mind sharp, to keep that perspective and stay present?
Yeah, it's funny because I had a different answer to you said the fitness side, because that definitely is part of it. And for me, I live on an island. I swim in the ocean. Yesterday I was swimming within 200 meters of my dock. I saw a spotted eagle ray and a sea turtle, and each of those are rare, but to get 2 back-to-back right there is absolutely incredible.
Lucky day.
So lucky. That I think that's a big part of it, because no matter how much I try to, right, the name of the book, get out of my head, right? Try to get others out of my head, whether it's AirPods with podcast listening or other people talking, or you can always check your email. There's constant bombardment of information. Whereas when I'm in the ocean, there's nothing. I had a recent friend ask me, hey, this, I guess, MP3 player I normally wear when I swim is broken. I'm looking for a new one. What do you think of this? I was like, honestly, I very deliberately don't do that. It's the same way I love Whoop because it doesn't have a screen. I don't want more interruption in my life. And so I think for me, those ocean swims it's almost like a sensory deprivation chamber while I'm also getting the exercise, and it's like jogging in the Amazon, basically, where I am. I think that's really, really important to me. It was not going to be on my list until you put it, but once you said that, I was like, that's probably a really important thing.
That's big.
The other, I would say, more recent, I've done a gratitude practice for years and years, but in the past 6 months, it changed how I do it. And it has been maybe the most positively impactful thing on my life in the past 6 months. And it is every single morning, as part of my meditation, I spend 5 minutes, minute each, to meditate on 5 different things I'm grateful for. And really deeply. And I had gratitude practice where I sit there and I journal and I write it out. And it could get samey, right? Go back to how, I'm so thankful for my health. I'm so thankful for my family, all this. But the rule with this is you can't ever in your life repeat. And so you burn up all health and family and everything pretty quickly. After the first week or 2, your go-tos are out. And so what you end up having to do, at least what I've done, maybe I'm not creative, but you basically have to pull from the day prior. Right? Each morning, if I'm going to do this at 5:30, it's going to come from the prior 24 hours. Something happened between last time and this. And so it, one, reprograms my brain. No matter what happened that day, my brain thinks it was a great day because I just sat there pulling all the highlights out. And so all I remember of these days are these highlights. I mean, I ended up in the hospital with a pit bull attack, but my memory of that day is it was a great day, right? Because I focused on all the amazing, like this person who stepped in and helped me, that it was me and it wasn't a child that could have really gotten hurt. Like my story from that day is very different than if it was this woe is me, this terrible thing happened I couldn't do, right? And so it reprograms the day prior. So all my memories are these really positive memories. And then in living life, I know the next morning I'm going to have 5 things. So I'm on alert. I'm not on alert for bad things. Like our default is, because of biology, to look out for bad things. That's what kept us alive. We're pretty safe. I don't really need to be on alert for bad things. But now I kind of force my brain, overriding that thing, back to it being daily practice, to I'm on alert for highlights. Like if I'm in a conversation, like, man, this is definitely making top 5. Like this is such a good conversation. I'm so psyched about this. And so that for me has been a really important practice for me on that. And then I still do journal, and I find that really helpful. I go through different journals. I'm doing the Ryan Holiday's the Daily Dad right now, but some of my favorites. Leo Tolstoy has one that's absolutely phenomenal.
Whoa.
Wonder of Wisdom that he pulls, and it has Lao Tzu and Seneca and from literature from all different languages. He spent his life pulling this thing together, and it's really, really good. So it's one of my favorites.
That's so cool. And we'll make sure to put that in the show notes because this is the kind of stuff where I always say, like, I think a lot of times people talk about gratitude journaling and, journaling and meditation and mindfulness. And even I love like everything you just shared is super specific because at the end of the day, like, yeah, just like therapy, just like even going to the gym, like there's no one thing that's going to help every single person feel better in the way that they need to feel better. So these are super specific, and I'm smiling because as part of the Mindy app we've built, it's capturing your highlights from the day before. And it's the same thing with me. Like I, every day I'm just finding the good. And I've had, a tough couple weeks, and it's like, yeah, I'm still hunting for them. And our brains, when you train them, are like really, really good. They like it, when you give them a new pattern. So yeah, I love that. And I love that you can't repeat. That's so good.
Yeah. Look, I didn't come up with this. It's from Phil Stoltz's The Tools. And there's 6 different tools, and 2 of them I use. The others, I was like, I don't really have a problem with those things, but these 2, that one and the other one that I consistently use is envisioning breathing in and just the love of the universe coming in, and then picturing someone in front of me and just pouring that love directly to them. And I think it made way healthier interactions, way more collaborative of, hey, regardless of any other hurt, like I'm just going to picture like all this love coming from me to you. And then certainly with my daughter, like every interaction you have with these people, that I think it helps. So those are the 2 tools, their way of doing the gratitude and that kind of ingest and output of love.
I love it. That's amazing. And I'm curious, really quick one before we ask our rapid fire set and close out. If your 25-year-old self heard you talking like this, what would he say?
So we've just been starting working, kind of finally finished law school, coming out. I think I was more vapid then, honestly. I don't think I was super self-reflective then. Like I was leading a much more hedonistic life. And so I'm curious if I would have been receptive. I was on another podcast when I was doing kind of the bulk of the promotion, and the host was like, this came at the perfect time. If this had called me a year prior, it would not have clicked. Like I wasn't in a place to hear this and to ingest this. And that really stuck with me. It's the same message, but the message in different formats at different times click with us in different ways. So I honestly, I don't know if I could have taken it. And that's part of why I said that middle school time frame. Because as someone who sits there, my daughter was 7, I'm driving her to school, I'm trying to explain the hedonic treadmill and what this isn't going to help. And I'm like, man, is this way too early? But one of the things that Ryan Holiday in the Daily Dad says is you have to get there before they build their defenses. And so I think there's something, and we know biologically at that kind of teenage age, our brain centers light up differently from authority figures than our peers, and it flips. And so if you wait till then, of like, oh, they'll be able to understand it, then their guards up. They're not going to listen to it. And so I think 25 may have been too late. I think if I had heard this at 12 or 13, it would have been a different thing than if you came in at 25. It would have been better.
Super helpful and very honest, by the way, which I appreciate. And I think it's true. It's just a question that came up for me because I think about that a lot for myself. But okay, you ready for a couple rapid fire ones? All right, great. So first one is, what is like been the most impactful podcast, book, article, person that you've met that's helped kind of guide you towards your various mental fitness practices?
On mental fitness specifically. So physical fitness, I can answer more easily. Andy Galpin on physical fitness is, I think, next level. Like what that guy puts out for free is better than a college course. I think it's just absolutely incredible. Big fan of Andy Galpin. On the mental, the most recent, this may be recency effect, but the Melanie Avalon biohacking podcast, it's supposed to be about biohacking. It has Dave Asprey and Mark Hyman and those, but she has so much else in there besides. And you know, the one I just listened to today was on nonviolent communication, and technically for parents with their children, but it applies across the board. I've just found it a really valuable resource with the different guests she pulls in. Yeah.
Very cool. And I'm curious, how about best piece of life advice that you've been living by or that you've ever heard?
The funny thing on life advice, because I think the best one that was great for me for a period of time was totally wrong later. So as a teenager, I was reading David Foster Wallace's Infinite Jest, right, my senior year, or in high school, sorry. And there's a line that apparently he ended up stealing from Eleanor Roosevelt of, you wouldn't care what people thought about you if you realized how little they actually did. And as a teenager, that's incredibly liberating. Like, wait, everybody else is in their head concerned about what other people are thinking. They're not that concerned about me. Like, they're not spending their time thinking about me. That's very free. And I live by that. And it was very, very free until I was talking to Donna Nowitzki, who's early Apple, the CEO of Palm. And she said, yeah, that was true. As a CEO, that's not. And it's saying, as a parent, it's not, right? Everybody in the company is, wait, what did he mean by that? Like, what was that eyebrow raise, right? They're looking at everything. Your child, the tone of voice you use, what you say, what you don't say, it changes with life. So there is a period of life people are not really thinking about you, and there's another period that there are certain people that are thinking a whole lot about you, and you have to be more deliberate and thoughtful. How do you then engage with them? So I would say those as kind of bookends were both really, really valuable life lessons and pieces of advice I got in different guises.
Amazing. And I have to bring this one up just because I feel like it was a topic for us. So you have somebody listening right now, they're you, like they're at McKinsey or they're a lawyer, maybe a father, or mother, and they're stressed and they're like, wow, I hear him. I hear that I have a choice. I hear that there's all these things I could be doing. What would you recommend without knowing anything about their context as like an amazing first step or first exploration to start changing their mind or mindset?
Yeah, so I kind of come from two different directions. One, I would think, is how do you regain your perception of agency? So saying, hey, that sounds good for you because you've done X or Y. I can't do this. Pull away from the can't and get to, I'm choosing to do this. Say, well, I can't do this because I have 2 kids in private school and this car payment, and like I need to earn this out. And say, that's not a can't. That's saying, I prioritize being able to send my children to school and make these payments and not have my car repossessed more than I prioritize freeing myself from this career, right? That's, you're not chained. You are proactively making a choice that I'm choosing this over this, right? I'm choosing not to have my home foreclosed on because that is more important. And that's a fine decision. Just own that it's yours. And it totally changes how you look on life when you realize, wait, I am making the decision that this is more important to me than this other thing. I really care about that. I find that very liberating. I think other people will too when you start realizing, oh wait, these are trade-offs I actually make. Now, in making those trade-offs, the other one I come back to a lot is this idea of a zero-based calendar. Because back to the process over the results. How we spend our days is how we spend our lives. And if you were just backfilling your calendar, okay, I need to fit in time for exercise. I need to fit in time for meditation. I need to fit in time for reading. I need to fit in. You're all trying to load on to an already full calendar. You were basically saying, I'm just trying to rent pieces of the 24 hours back from all these people that I gave it away to. And I think the reframing is, no, Bezos, Elon Musk, Ariana Huffington, you, me, we all get 24 hours. We all get the exact same budget there. They have different zeros in the bank account. We all get that same 24 hours. So what if we were to build from the ground up of saying, here's how many hours I want to be in bed each night. Here's how many hours I don't want a device in the same room as me. Here's how many hours I'm willing to give to work, and budgeting from there. And what you may find is, oh, that now adds up to 27 hours. Okay, back to the agency thing. Cool. Which one are you going to prioritize versus something else? You say, hey, I prioritize this stage of my career. I'm going to take it this hour from my kids. I'm going to take this 30 minutes from sleep, whatever, because I'm going to put it here. That can be a fine answer as long as you're doing it consciously and you're choosing versus just on the back end trying to fit stuff in. Because no one else is thinking about how to design their life if you're not. You're the only one that can actually proactively design your life. So don't do it around a canvas created by someone else. Go build from your own canvas and build up from there.
Love. And that is, like we always say, the single most important thing you can do to work on your mental fitness is focus, or the practice of putting your intention towards one thing. And to your point, like everything is, if it's not intentional, that's an intention too. And really being really conscious of those trade-offs that you're making and the choices and where you really are spending your time is absolutely essential to start feeling more in control. Yeah. Love it. Very cool. Wow. Well, Andrew, could talk to you literally for freaking weeks. Lots more questions. Hopefully we can have you back on at some point. But for right now, I'd love to make sure that people can find you. So any websites, where do we read the book? Tell us.
Yeah. So, I mean, Get Out of My Head, it's on Amazon, it's on Kindle, it's on Audible. You can get that anywhere. Alively.com for business. Great. On me, my first name is Michael, you can go by Andrew, AndrewMcConnell.com has all the stuff on me. And then I'm most active on Instagram, Andrew McConnell, or LinkedIn, again, Andrew McConnell. Pretty consistent.
Amazing. Okay, great. Well, make sure to put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you all for joining us for another Modern Mind interview series. I highly recommend you check out his book and also Alively. It's pretty incredible what they're building there. And Andrew, appreciate the time. I know how busy you are.
I had so much fun. Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot.